Hello, I'm Lee, I'm an intuitive, and every month I take the pulse on what might be showing up for you emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. A few of the themes for March, with a big focus on healing this month, are fiery change energy in the air, relationship renewals and changes, and revelations that lead to transformation. Stay tuned for the full update. Hello everyone, welcome to the energy update for March. And just to let you know, we will be starting my Empaths Narcissists recovery course on March 10th. It's a course I've run for many years now. We haven't had it out there for about the last 18 months, so we're happy to be holding it again. If it resonates with you, we'd love to have you join us. We'll play you an excerpt from it at the end of this update if you're interested, or you can find the link below the video. But for today, let's dive into what's moving through March. Definitely a huge month around healing and around awareness, and awareness that leads to healing. So the first big theme for March is major awareness upgrades are incoming. So this is rapid clarity. What it will look like is you suddenly having clarity about situations that you have perhaps struggled with for a period of time, or more likely, sudden awarenesses about things that you either weren't seeing so clearly or weren't able to click into place in your life. So whenever these major awareness upgrades are happening, it means that psychic energy and visionary energy, the energy of our higher mind, is more active. A great rule of thumb is always to challenge yourself not to act immediately on these clarities and these revelations that you have, to let them sink in, let them percolate, let them move through your life, and then when you're ready and grounded to make changes that you need, it will be far easier to do that than when we're in a reactive state and having a blinding clarity that we feel we have to immediately act upon. There will be a lot of this awareness and clarity energy moving through March. So don't be surprised if it's a little tiring at times. It wears you out a little as you go through these shifts in your perception about your life and about the world and about relationships that you're in. It's a huge time of upgraded awareness for many. So if you find yourself in this place, don't be too surprised. But also, if you are feeling like you haven't quite got the energy to make the changes, or you're not sure what changes to make, just wait and let the awareness filter through you and let it move its way slowly through your system. This leads me to the second theme, which is connected: revelations that lead to transformation. So when we have a revelation, it's a little bit like an epiphany or an aha or a light bulb moment about an area of our life. So perhaps we suddenly realize that there is a dream that we have wanted to activate in our life for many, many years, and we kind of just pushed it aside, or life had gotten in the way, and all of a sudden we have this revelation that we are supposed to act on the dream. And when we have revelations or epiphanies, it's a little bit like a dopamine hit. It can be wonderful to have a vision of how you can change your life, or what needs to change in order for you to bring in a different level of life, a different connection to the feeling in your life. But revelations lead to transformation. So they are often the moment where we see things very clearly, and then slowly but surely in the coming days, weeks, and months, we're going to act on what we saw and start to build it into our life. So a revelation is not the same thing as transformation, but it's often the starter engine, the precursor. So you may have had periods in your life, like many of us have had, I think, where you feel like revelation is transformation. An epiphany for you is as good as transformation, but that doesn't cut it after a while, because what we actually want to do is connect our visionary self our ability to see from a higher level for who we are, and then bring that into the human body and into your human life so that there is a connection between your intuitive self and your human self. We as a generation are still having to rebuild that connection between our intuitive self and our human self, because most of us were raised in a way where we were encouraged to disconnect those two, to see intuition as this far off realm that we're not connected to, whereas nothing could be further from the truth. It's a huge part of our everyday life. So revelations that lead to transformation is a really good complement to the first theme this month of major awareness upgrades. The Z's, my guides, have often said that awareness is the precursor to change. So we become aware of something that needs to change before we start to work within our life and with the universe to make those changes. But revelations that lead to transformation are really what's happening a lot right now on the planet for many of us. So you might find yourself being a little more dreamy, a little more reflective, a little more visionary about your life. And again, you don't have to rush to act, but do know that when you have one of those epiphany moments that lights you up and connects you in a different way, transformation is going to follow, whether it's this week or this year. So they can be very activating, and that's why revelation can take time to show up in our life. Why this might make some of you a little nervous too is that when we make big changes in our lives, it alters our comfort, our routine, how people relate to us, how we relate to people. So it's a big, big adjustment. And one of the reasons that it might be a little unnerving to you this month to have too many revelations or too many epiphanies, or you might feel a little frozen around what to do with them, is because the third theme of March is fiery change energy. Fiery change energy is in the air in March. And so this can show up in different ways. It can lead to stormy emotions or reactions in us or in others as a result. Fiery energy is very alive. And if you know how to run that through your system and maintain your sense of peace and balance, you can do quite well with fiery energy because it enlivens everything. But if you don't know how to create peace in your system, if you haven't yet figured out what you need to be able to regulate yourself when your nervous system feels off, fiery energy can be a little alarming. It can scare us. It can make us want to clamp down on what we're feeling inside us. It's why Kundalini awakenings are so difficult for so many people. Kundalini awakening, where your Kundalini energy starts to rise again in your body, your spiritual life force energy that perhaps has been quietened down by society, by how you have modified your behavior, suddenly it starts to come alive again. It's like pure soul energy running through your system, and it can be unnerving because of the uncertainty we can have about how that fire is going to show up in our lives. And equally, we get nervous about other people's fire. We don't know if a fiery person is someone who might be safe for us, or will they behave in a way that you will feel safe in their presence. So whenever fiery change energy is in the air, it can tend to, for some, excite them, but for many, make you a little hesitant to make changes or step forward. It will, by itself, drive change through your life, but that's why you might want to proceed slowly this month with actions that you take that feel like they're going to challenge your balance or challenge your status quo. Now, if it was a very slow and dormant month, I would be saying, go for it, push change into your life. But given there is going to be such a momentum moving through March, many of us will actually seek to figure out ways to be quiet, to be still, to draw our energy in. Because March and April really are opening months in 2023. And fiery change energy can also reveal imbalances, imbalanced behaviors, people behaving in unconscionable ways towards others. So Fiery change energy is a tricky one because it has the energy of fight and conflict in it too. So given we are going to see some of that move through March, it might reveal some tricky things in the world for us to deal with as well. So we'll see how it plays out, but just be aware of that fiery change energy in the air and how it might be moving through you, but also how it might be moving through people around you. Sometimes we can give a bit more grace to a friend or a colleague because we know they're stressed. And you might notice people behaving in slightly more erratic or emotional ways than they usually do in March, because we're all getting swept up on this energy spiral of fiery energy that's moving through us. The fourth theme is something that is on the table for March, but I've been witnessing this play out for the last couple of months on the planet. There is an enormous wave of relationship renewals and changes. So whether this is a romantic relationship, whether this is a friendship, whether this is a relative, a lot of people are going through relationship breakdowns or breakthroughs. The one good thing about the breakdown side of it is there is more consciousness on the planet available around being able to consciously have a breakdown of a certain kind of relationship. So I'm hearing of various couples I know or friends that I know who are able to, in a loving and kind and honoring way, recognize that they need to change the status of their relationship. But equally, I'm hearing and seeing and experiencing this renewal energy moving through relationships too. So it might be that you're a bit braver to say the thing that you need to say, and that shifts a relationship. Or it might be that you finally give yourself permission to say no to a very persistent person in your life who you kind of don't want to spend too much time with because they're badgering you to do something all the time, but you haven't given them a no. And when you give them the no, they trust your boundary, they feel your boundary, and they calm down. And all of a sudden you can be with them again. So if you're having any relationship conflict, struggle, dissonance with anyone, ask yourself, how can I be really truthful with this person in a loving way, but in a way that is loving to myself as much as it is to them? And if there's something that needs to be said, or if there's an action that needs to be taken, this is a great time to take it, because relationships are on a bit of a seesaw right now. And there is enormous potential for change, transformation, and growth, but we often have to initiate it. So some people will be initiating literal separations, and others will be initiating transformations within relationships. So you're separating from a certain dynamic that you've got going on. You're no longer going to play that dynamic. And when you agree to no longer play that dynamic, you say no, you say yes, you show up differently. It's amazing how the energy can change and renew. So relationship renewals and changes will be an ongoing theme in March. And if you haven't already been catching the tailwinds of that, don't be surprised if it finds you or if people around you are in that relationship negotiation. So the fifth theme this month is there will be a spotlight on healing imbalances. So imbalances can be physical, mental, emotional. A physical imbalance could be a health issue that you've been dealing with or perhaps even avoiding or ignoring, and suddenly you feel an impetus and an ability to tackle it. Perhaps up until now it's been something you haven't wanted to tackle, or it's been very painful to tackle it. And this month, the energy to support you tackling those imbalances can be a lot stronger and a lot more supported. It may not be a physical imbalance that you're dealing with, it may be a mental imbalance. Perhaps your mental health has been suffering and you haven't really been giving it the space, time, focus, help that it needs. You know, there are so many amazing resources out there, be it information, be it people who can help facilitate you to improve your mental health, be it something you read. So this can be a big month for you around physical, mental, or emotional imbalances. I've spoken a lot about trauma healing in the last few years and how there is a rising awareness around the effects of trauma on us as human beings. And there is a lot of trauma on this planet, a lot, in all areas, in all walks of life. So there will be a spotlight on the healing of our imbalances this month particularly, and it will be a little easier, a little more supported, or you may just have the will and the ability to look at healing some of these imbalances that maybe you just haven't had the energy or the bandwidth to do in recent months. The sixth theme is a spotlight on leadership and control influences and authoritarian issues. So, I mean, again, this is a theme that we're grappling with on the planet at the moment in general anyway. But whenever I'm given it to talk about, I'm always curious about what we're going to see play out on the world stage. And one of the biggest messages that my guides are always giving, and they gave me this very strongly around this theme, is we have a tendency to believe that authority wins. And we forget that our job generationally and our role as humans is to be activists for a more humanitarian, compassionate, and equal planet. And usually any act of authoritarianism, whether it's a global or a country-based authoritarian issue, or if it's in a relationship dynamic, maybe you've got someone who is being overly authoritative over you and over your choices and over who you are, and you're in a kind of bully dynamic at the moment. This is a really important month for shifting some of that, and it will continue to be a theme as we go through the next couple of years. But the message is, don't forget that we have the power to not just live in fear of or accept authoritarianism. It's very important for us to recognize the lack of heart in that energy and to do what we can to create different energies on the planet. And sometimes you can't be the individual, perhaps, to change something in a system or something in a company. But if you start to demonstrate and live through your heart and behave in different ways, and also call out the things that you see when you see them, and help educate others as to the idea that they don't necessarily need to accept or tolerate what is being forced upon them, that's how we start to create a more collective, harmonic energy. So I know it can be very debilitating at times when you look at various things going on in the world, but the message is, just because it's rising, it doesn't mean that there isn't a counterbalance that we as people can bring. So whatever that means or looks like for you to operate in a more harmonic way, and that includes calling things out and speaking your truth at times, or helping others to see things that they maybe aren't paying enough attention to, that they need to. There is possibility of change when we do that. And if we don't, then we don't necessarily go in the direction we want to go. So that's a really important part for those of you particularly who feel activated around this, and like you are here to be a part of the committee around that work. And for those of you who feel weary of it or fearful of it, do your best to create as much heartfelt community and connection in your part of the world and your immediate vicinity and community as you can. Because it is that heartfelt harmonic connection that exposes the opposite and makes the opposite seem incredibly jarring to people. But when people haven't yet activated that level of heart, harmony, or connection in themselves, it's easy for them to not quite recognize the path they're being taken on. So, food for thought around that topic. Mentors, this is the seventh theme. Mentors, friendships, and community wisdom is the safety net. Mentors, friendships, and community wisdom is the safety net. So, mentors, we know that we need to change something in our life. Okay, great. We speak to the friend who we consider a mentor, or we find a piece of information or a video or a book that's going to help us to become the next version of ourselves. That's the traditional mentor role. a good influence, someone who guides you, educates you, leads you. So make sure you've got some mentors in your life. Equally, friendships. What friendships do you have that you can count on? And I think a lot of people, from what I understand, have become more hermit-like over the last few years, simply because of what we experience as a world. It's time to reactivate those important friendships to you. If you've been hiding away from them or not making contact with the people who light you up, it's time to re-energize those. And then community wisdom. So mentors, friendships, and community wisdom. That is our safety net. You know, we do thrive and survive when we are able to support, hold, and influence each other. And I know there will be some of you out there who are like, I don't know about humans. I've said this before. I prefer nature. I prefer animals. Well, then that's your mentors, your friends, and your community wisdom. Boy, oh boy, nature holds a ton of wisdom. So it's really important that we make sure that we're plugging into other influences. It can be very easy to feel alone spiritually or as a human being or at a time like this on earth. The safety net is to plug into your good people, your good forces, your good influences. So encourage yourself to do that this month if you've been hiding away a little bit. And the 8th and final theme for this month is allow love in. Allow love in. So that's from other people, other sources, and it's also from yourself, because it will magnify in us when we do allow love in. You know, my guides, the Z's, said the heart is a magnet when it's full. That when we're full and our hearts feel full and we feel connected, we're very magnetic because we're holding and living with that energy inside us. So some days you've got to find it yourself. You know, some days the world outside you doesn't seem to be sending good vibes your way. So you go, okay, what are the things, the practices, the tools, the music, the things I like to read, the things I like to do that I can just plug into for 5, 10, 15 minutes? I will bring my focus back to love. And equally, on other days, we have those earth angels out there who give us that big smile or that hug, or someone reaches out and it touches you and you were a little untouchable or a little held back. Allow love in. And that also is why we have to stick with our mentors, our friends, and our community wisdom at the moment. We need that net, that energy net. So allow love in from others and yourself, because it will magnify when you do. You will become full and you will be able to emanate and give more. So that is the energy update for March. As I mentioned at the beginning, we are starting Empaths Narcissists on March 10th. It's a video course and we'll play you a little excerpt of it in just a moment. And I will be doing a live Q&A for it and for all new participants this year in April. So if you feel like you have been in a tricky relationship dynamic and it's something you need to recover from and recover what I call your abandoned self, check out the video and the page for Empaths Narcissists, and if it resonates, we'd love to have you there. My members community, the portal, is where every single month I go deep with my teachings, with my offerings. I also, as well as my own work, bring a community of teachers along with me and a wealth of resources. The portal is designed to both support you, but also take you forward, take you to the next step. So every month I do a monthly broadcast that's usually 90 minutes to an hour and 45 minutes long. Every month I intuitively teach for the community. And this month, the one we just did, it was all about speaking and expressing your truth and how when we do, it changes our life. There were so many other elements to it, but that was the headline theme. So every month I do a deep teaching that includes channeling from my guides, the Z's. I also bring you an MP3 recording each month, and this month it's called The Spiritual Power of Being Yourself. And it includes a musical mantra. So these medicinal mantras that myself and Davor Bozic have been creating are taking affirmations from the Z's and setting them to music so that you can use the musical piece to clear a room in your house, to recite the words and to really lock into the message of the mantra. Last month we had, I release any energies and emotions that are not mine. And this month we have, I am safe, I am whole, I am loved, I am free to be me. And accompanying that 10-minute mantra is a 30-minute audio energy guide from me on the spiritual power of being yourself. Because when we are uniquely who we are here to be, our world changes, our life changes, it changes consciousness on the planet. So that and so many other teachings are found inside the portal, including body medicine from Stephen Washington every month. And we always feature a wonderful guest teacher in the Portal Presents with some wonderful names that we've had over the last year and a bit. So you get a ton of content. If you feel that you resonate with the idea of this, we'd love to have you join us for a month, try it out and see if it's for you. We'll put links underneath the video to the portal, to the new MP3 Spiritual Power of Being Yourself, which you get for free as part of your portal membership, or if you wish to just purchase it separately, it's in our store too. And Empaths and Narcissists, a power dynamic and how to recover from it. We'll also put the link below. But thanks for tuning in, everyone. Take good care. Lots of love until next time. Hello, I'm Lee Harris, and for the past several years, I've been running a course called Empaths and Narcissists, a power dynamic and how to recover from it. It's a video course designed to support you to recover from any kind of relationship where you've given your power away. The course has now helped thousands of people over the years to clarify their situation, change direction, rebuild themselves, and regain their power, confidence, and their true identity. It's interesting because narcissistic abuse has become a big topic the last several years. And I think it's very easy for any of us to just point the finger and label people as narcissists. But the truth is, it's more complex than that. And this dynamic is going round. So at any particular moment, we can each have narcissistic tendencies or behave empathically. I created this course because time and time again, I was meeting and working with so many people who had found themselves entangled in this kind of unhealthy dynamic. They didn't know what had happened to them or how to recover from it. But they also didn't know what to look for and rebuild in themselves to avoid walking back into something like this in the future. I had my own experiences around this dynamic in my own personal life too. So the course is born of personal experience, but also my experience of working one-on-one with clients and groups around the world for over a decade, where this topic would repeatedly reveal itself. So for 2023, we are launching the course again this March. Enrollment will be open for 1 month only, so that my team and I can support you as you move through the process. It's all delivered via videos, audio, and worksheets that can help you with the integration and the learning. You can go at your own pace and revisit any of the material at any time because you'll have lifetime access. I'll do a live Q&A broadcast so that you can submit your questions and I'll answer as many as I can. We also have several bonus interviews with people who have particular experience and expertise around this topic. The course has been called the most powerful healing course that I offer, and we've had consistently wonderful feedback from previous students who have attested that the course has improved their relationships, their understanding, their self-esteem, and their sense of who they are in the world. So, as someone who needed to refine that in myself at a couple of points in my life, I'm really happy to be able to be offering this course again. And if you have found yourself in a difficult relationship, the results from the course can be profound. When you figure out how you got yourself into giving your power away in the first place, and to recover from the fact that you did, you can help yourself avoid ever doing it again in the future. So I hope you'll join us for Empaths and Narcissists 2023. If it feels resonant to you, you can click the link below to find out more details about the full course. And whether you're joining us or not, I wish you love and luck with your recovery journey.